Welcome to Moon Meditation and more. Okay, so we're doing the flower ornament scripture, a translation of Avatamasaka. We're on page 8, last paragraph. It comes knowledge. This scripture is different from the idea of the Sandhinimurkana scripture, which specifically sets up a ninth pure consciousness to guide beginners and gradually induce them to remain in the realm of illusion, to increase enlightenment, not letting their minds plant seeds in voidness, not letting their minds become like spoiled fruitless seeds by one-sidedly rejecting the world. So the Sandhinimurkana scripture is an elementary gateway to entry into illusion, while the Lankavarta and Vimalakirtinirdesa scriptures directly point to the fundamental reality of illusion. The Lankavarta explains the storehouse consciousness as the matrix of enlightenment, while the Vimalakirtinirdesa examines the true character of the body, seeing it to be the same as the Buddha. The Lankavarta and Vimalakirtinirdesa scriptures are roughly similar, while the Sandhinimurkana is a bit different. The flower ornament is not like this. The body and sphere of the Buddha, the doors of teaching, and the forms of practice are far different. It is an emanation body which expounds the Lankavarta, and the realm explained is a defiled land. The location is a mountain peak, and the teaching explains the realm of consciousness as real. The interlocutor is an enlightening being called Great Intellect. The teaching of the emanation Buddha is temporary, and the discourse of the Great Intellect is selective. As for the teaching of the flower ornament scripture, the body of Buddha is the fundamental reality. The realm of the teaching and its results is the flower treasury. The teaching it rests on is the fruit of Buddhahood, which is entered through the realm of reality. The interlocutors are Manjushri and universally good. The marvelous function of knowledge, the nomenon and phenomena, the aspects of practice of 5 sets of 10 stages, and their causes and effects merge with each other. The substances of 10 fields and 10 bodies of Buddhahood interpenetrate, and it would be impossible to tell fully of all the generalities and the specifics of the Flower Ornament Sutra. Next, to deal with the Vimalakirtinirdesa scripture, this is based on the inconceivability. The Vimalakirtinirdesa scripture and the Flower Ornament scripture have 10 kinds of difference and 1 kind of similarity. The spheres of difference are the arrays of the Pure Lands, the features of the body of Buddha as rewards of religious practice or emanated phantom manifestations, the inconceivable spiritual powers, the avenues of teaching set up to deal with particular faculties, the congregations who come to hear the teachings, the doctrines set up, the activity manifested by the enlightening being Vimalakirti, the location of the teaching, the company of the Buddha, and the bequest of the teaching. The one similarity is that teachings of the methods of entry into the way are generally alike. First, regarding the difference in the arrays of the Pure Lands, in the case of the Pure Land, spoken of the Vimalakirtinirdesa scripture, Buddha presses the ground with his toe, whereupon the billion-world universe is adorned with myriad jewels, like the land of jewel array Buddha, adorned with the jewels of innumerable virtues. All in the assembly rejoice at this wonder, and see themselves sitting on jewel lotus blossoms. But this scripture still does not speak of endless arrays of Buddha lands, being in one atom. The flower ornament scripture fully tells of 10 realms of Vairocana Buddha, 10 flower treasury, ocean of worlds, each ocean of worlds containing endless ocean of worlds, interpenetrating each other again and again, there being endless oceans of worlds within a single atom. The complete sphere of the 10 Buddha bodies and the sphere of the sentient beings interpenetrate without mutual obstruction. The rays of myriad jewels are like lights and reflections. This is extensively recounted in the flower ornament scripture. It does not speak of the purification and adornment of only 1 billion world universe. Second, regarding the difference in the features of the Buddha's bodies, being rewards or emanations, the Vimalakirti scripture is expounded by an emanation Buddha with the 32 marks of greatness, whereas the flower ornament is expounded by the Buddha of true reward with 97 marks of greatness, and also as many marks as atoms in 10 flower treasury oceans of worlds. Third, the difference in inconceivable spiritual powers according to the Vimalakirti scriptures explanation of the spiritual powers of enlightening beings. They can fit a huge mountain into a mustard seed and put the waters of 4 oceans into 1 pore. Also, Vimalakirti's little room is able to admit 32,000 lion thrones, each one 84,000 leagues high. Vimalakirti takes a group of 8,000 enlightening beings, 500 disciples, and 100,000 gods and humans in his hand, and carries them to a garden. Also, he takes the eastern Buddha land of wonderful joy in his hand, and brings it here to earth to show the congregation, then returns it to its place. These miraculous powers are just shown for the benefit of disciples and enlightening beings who are temporarily studying the 3 vehicles. Why? Because disciples and enlightening beings studying the temporary teachings do not yet see the way truly, and have not yet forgotten the distinction of self and other. The miracles shown are based on the perception of the sense faculties, and all have coming and going, boundaries and limits. Also, they are a temporary device of a sage intended to arouse those of small faculties by producing miracles through spiritual powers to induce them to progress further. Therefore, they are not spontaneous powers. The flower ornament scripture says it is by the power of fundamental reality, because it is the natural order, the way things are in truth, that it is possible to contain all lands of Buddhas and sentient beings in 1 atom without shrinking the worlds or expanding the atom. Every atom in all worlds like this also contains all worlds. As the flower ornament scripture says, enlightening beings attain enlightenment in the body of a small sentient being and extensively liberate beings, while the small sentient being does not know it, is not aware of it. You should know that it is because Buddha draws in those of lesser vehicles, lesser faculties, by temporary teachings, that they see Buddha outside themselves, manifesting spiritual powers that come and go in the true teaching. By the means of inherent fundamental awareness, one becomes aware of the fundamental mind and realizes that one's body and mind, essence, and form are no different from Buddha, and so one has no views of inside or outside, coming or going. Therefore, Vairocana Buddha's body sits at all sites of enlightenment without moving from his original place. The congregations from the 10 directions go there, following the teaching without moving from their original places. There is no coming and going at all, nothing produced by miraculous powers. This is why the scripture says, it is this way in principle, in accord with natural law, when the scripture says time and again, that is by the spiritual power of Buddha, and also thus in principle, or by natural law. It says, by the spiritual power of Buddha, to put forward Buddha as what is honorable, and says, it is thus in principle, or by natural law, to put forward the fundamental qualities of reality. There is no change at all, because every single land, body, mind, essence, and form remain as they originally are, and do not follow delusion. All objects and realms, great and small, are like lights, like images, mutually reflecting and interpenetrating, pervading the 10 directions without any coming or going, without any bounds. Thus, within the pores of each being is all of space. It is not the same as the temporal